welcome to the meeting. This is what, July? This is the July meeting. Thank you all for coming. We do have some announcements that I've kind of teased. You might have saw the email that went out like last minute. I apologize about that. But we do have some kind of big announcements this week. So the other board members who are here are going to join me as we talk about this. That's how you know it's a big deal. That's how you know. And I've got points so that I make sure I cover everything. The board was formed in, what was it, the end of 2021? That's when we got together, started talking. And really what it was is we all just started talking about it. We started talking about having a club, what we would like, what we thought a club could look like. And then we started meeting together as a group and talking through it and started to build it out. And when we did that, we looked at a lot of clubs around the country and looked at kind of what they had, their bylaws, how they're structured, how they do things. We borrowed a lot of that, and then we also created some of it as we went, how we wanted to do things, how we felt would better work in our area and for us as individuals. And so like one of the things that we did is we formed the board and kind of made it the leadership, the five of us. And the reason why we wanted to keep it at 5 is that's an odd number. When we vote, we make a decision. There's always a decision made. And so between us, we discuss, debate. Sometimes we've never argued, but sometimes it gets a little, we're a little passionate about what we're fighting for, right? And but once we vote, we've all agreed that that's the decision that was made, and we all support it, and we move forward together.
Majority.
Majority.
We don't have the super majority. We just have majority.
Yep. So that's kind of how things got started. One item that was written without much detail was a plan of succession. All right. So how will new leadership rise in the club? How will new leaders? How will the board leave the position, vacate the position, and new people take the position? We didn't get a lot of detail on that because we knew it was going to take a little while before we got to a place where we needed it. We all agreed the first time we met as a board that 1 year was going to be required of all of us. And so we all agreed to the 1 year. Well, quickly we realized it was going to take maybe 2 or 3. So we all committed to doing it for 2 or 3 years before we start thinking about, finding a way for people to be able to join the board. So why are we talking about that today? We're happy with how things are going. We're really excited about what we've got coming up. We've got a lot of things going on. We're already starting to plan for next year. The events, we've got an announcement. The swaps, which we posted on Facebook, is now called the Aquatic Market. We felt like that was a better representation of what it is. And some people in the board got tired of explaining what a swap is when people would ask, which was one of the things we debated for a while. But things like that we've got going on. We've got stuff coming. Everyone on the board, there's 5 of us. So there's Curtis, me, JT, Jason, and Kane, who unfortunately they weren't able to be here today. But we volunteered time and sweat and money in order to get the club going. And so we kind of feel like there's a little bit of ownership there. But at the same time, we don't want it to be our club. We want it to be East Tennessee Aquatic Association. We are a club. And so we don't want to hold on to the leadership of the club. We want there to be a plan of succession to where we can kind of just enjoy it a little bit too while other people are leading. But at the same time, we want to protect it. It's a young club. We're just getting started. It would be real easy for some wrong decisions to lead it to where we just don't have a club anymore. So we want to protect that. So we're working on that. However, we did need to start planning, creating a plan of succession because Kane has resigned. Kane has got a lot going on with his family, his job, and his hobby. And he just felt like he didn't have enough time to dedicate to what we are requiring of ourselves in the leadership of the board. And so we commend him for that. We accepted his resignation. He's still a member of the club, still going to be here. It was nothing bad. I mean, it was really was, I hate to do this, but I've got to. And we understood. So there is going to be an open position on the board, and we actually hope to fill that pretty quickly. This provides us an opportunity to test how we can add a new board member. So we've talked it out, we've hashed it out, tried to talk about future things too, but as far as how do we replace this one spot, because we need 5 to make a decision. 4 won't cut it. We need 5. And another thing that we've decided is kind of an announcement too, is the board is now going to function. The board has always functioned just as a board of 5. We all have equal say. We all had equal vote. President, vice president, those titles never really meant anything to any of us. And really the only thing, secretary and treasury, those are kind of necessary. You got to have those. So someone will keep those roles, but the board in general, for now, we're not going to do president, vice president, and that kind of stuff. When it gets to the point where we are nominating and voting people annually, biannually, however it ends up being, then we'll do positions. But right now, we don't need them, so we just decided to drop them.
We have to do them all anyhow.
Yeah, we do all the roles anyhow. I mean, we're helping each other, picking up where we can, taking on things. So it just didn't seem necessary for us. But we will include that it can be created in the future to operate that way, because that's how clubs operate, apparently. So here's the plan of succession as far as for filling the spot that has recently become vacant. We are asking you, as of the end of this meeting, to nominate people. You can nominate yourself. I don't see any problem with nominating yourself. You say, hey, I'd like to do it, because we want people with the initiative to do things. So if that's you, come up to us, let us know. If you want to nominate somebody, we'll then go to them and talk with them and see if they're interested, because we do have some people that maybe don't want to be part of the board, but they are active in the club. So we want to be able to talk with them. But we're asking you all to nominate people, and then we will meet and look over the candidates. Again, we're trying to protect the club in its early years. So we will look at the candidates and put together a ballot, all right? So when we do that, what we will do is we will send out a communication by email. So we will make sure you get on the email list. We're going to send out a communication by email letting you know who are the candidates who will be on the ballot. And then we'll have an opportunity to maybe get a bio from them so that we can put them on the Facebook group. And so actually we could probably even do it now that I'm thinking about it, on the YouTube and mark it as unlisted. That might change a little bit as I'm just spitballing it. This is how we operate as I'm spitballing. But we'll find a way to get you all an opportunity to see the candidates and get to know them a little bit more. And then in the August meeting, when we come together, I skipped a step. Before the August meeting, the week before, we're going to send out ballots. You'll have 3 days to respond to the ballot with your vote. The votes will be tallied, and then the August meeting will announce who the 5th board member is. Now, for those of you who are considering taking on, thank you, considering taking on the role, to give you an idea of what it consists of, we meet at least once a month just as the board. We talk about the previous meeting. We talk about the future meeting. We talk about, sometimes we have some business that we're working on, things that we have planned, things that you guys see in the slides. And we're just trying to keep those things rolling and stay on top of them. We were recently talking about how we could support CFI. We loved the opportunity to tour CFI, and as we would like to find ways to put back into the community, and that's one place that we feel as a club we could support. So that's one of the things we've been discussing and trying to work out how we can do it. How do we want to do it? How do we present it? So there's things like that. So that commitment's not that large, but we do take on roles during each meeting. You might be asked to speak. You might be asked to stand here and do tickets. You might have to go in the middle of the day and go meet somebody to get donations for the table. There's things like that we do as well. And then, of course, there's I don't really want to call them emergency meetings, but we do have those meetings that pop up to where there's something going on that we have to deal with. Sometimes we're able to handle it over text, and we even vote through text. But sometimes it requires us to hash it out verbally and talk about it and see each other face to face. So that's a possibility. And sometimes, whenever you do that, we ask the board, we want to always be available for that. We do work with our scheduling and try to fit things, to where it works. But just to be honest, there was one night when we had to meet and I was muted and typing to the guys because I was helping my daughter with her homework. right before she had to get ready for bed. So I mean, like, it does require a little bit of commitment. I don't want to undersell that because honestly, everybody on the board, Kane, Jason's not here to speak for themselves. Everybody's put in a lot of work, and that's what we're asking you to consider doing. So
And all the board meetings are virtual.
they are
You
virtual.
don't have to leave your house or anything.
Yes.
The other thing is that we've all discussed, and one of the reasons why we're standing here and pitching this to you guys is because here we are all enjoying this meeting, but we all have a very similar, if not the same, mission statement as to what this club is going to be. And we don't want to bring in somebody or have somebody come into our club and be on the board and have a position of authority that changes what we have here. Just met somebody who came in from, what'd you say, Miami, and they do things differently down there, and that's why we studied these other clubs so that we could find what worked for us. We're obviously a very young club with a pretty inexperienced group of fish keepers as a whole. I mean, we don't have a lot of 60, 80 tanks, breeders, everybody. I mean, we have like 3 or 4 people in this club, so we want to find that person. We want that person to nominate themselves or be nominated who's going to follow our mission. I mean, and we don't want to really change because we haven't had a chance to really be what we want it to be yet. But we don't want to have somebody come in and have this radical change. All right, now we're going to do fishtails on that Facebook. Now we're going to do this. We're going to do that. No, you kind of have to have seen what we've done for the last year and 3/4 and say, I'm pretty much on board with how this club has been run. And otherwise, I think you're going to come on this board and butt heads, which we're obviously pretty easygoing people amongst us. And our goal is this, Fish Nerds Unite. I mean, we are here to talk about fish and hang out, and nothing political, nothing other than just talk about things underwater. And so that's who we're looking for, someone to come in and honestly be able to help us find speakers and help with the swap and stuff, what you've already seen. If you haven't seen this yet, then you probably should nominate to be on the board.
Yeah, we do ask for, if you're going to nominate yourself or if you're going to nominate somebody, consider somebody who comes to the meetings on a regular basis. If it's a name that we've never seen them at the meeting, they're not going to be on the ballot because that's not the type of person we want leading helping us lead the club. And another thing that I did want to bring up is that there will be committees that will be forming in the future. So there's other leadership opportunities within the club because the aquatic market, I mean, we've got plans for that and how that's going to develop and what it will be. And that's why the name change happened, which is kind of an example of how we kind of roll with it sometimes. Because in the beginning, we were pretty stuck on the word swap, calling it a swap. And we had some of those discussions. And then with the last time we saw, okay, yeah, that's not working. Let's change it. So we gave it a name. And I think the name works. I think it's a really good name. So we are looking to change things. We're not saying we've got to keep it what it is right here, but those changes are small. We're trying to make small changes to tweak things. We don't want to just throw everything out and start all over.
Definitely not. This is our baby. I mean, all of us. I can name 85% of all y'all people in here. This is our baby. We've made this, and we don't want to change something so that we lose this. I mean, I want to meet every month. I want to meet the people in this room again and go see their fish rooms and talk about fish with them. I mean, this is why we're here in this hobby. And that's one of the things I take straight from JT is what JT said is how much he wants to protect what we've built already. And we all feel that way. And that's what we're looking for, is someone who feels the same way, wants to protect what we've created, and hopefully in 2 years, when someone else steps off this board or whatever we create, we've got another person coming in who's got the same ideals and stuff like that. Okay?
Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Have we said anything about who is our Facebook chat directors yet? Have we said anything about that?
Oh, it's a slide.
Okay.
Are you talking about moderating?
Yeah. You and Dave. I just didn't know. You said any questions.
Any questions about what we just spoke on?
Sorry, I don't.
All right, good. Well, we'll get into the slides. And definitely at the end of the meeting, like I said, that's when nominating kicks off. So if you have any questions, then you can come up to either the three of us. And also with Kane, unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here. We will, when he is able to be here again, we'll do something for Kane because he did put in a lot of work, and he feels kind of, stepping away is hard. So we definitely want to recognize that. I didn't use the clicker because I don't know what button to hit. So today's, which one is it?
Try the first one.
Well, it looks like a screen, and typically that's bad. Huh? Okay. All right. So so this will take me to the next page. All right. As far as announcements, review October Fish Market, October 28th. So the aquatic market will take place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 4 hours. Okay. Oh, so I just go over this. Gotcha. So guest speaker is James Mitchell with Fish Room Fever. Glad to have him, and he's going to be talking about habits of a successful fish keeper. We will have a species profile. I believe it's Cassandra. Okay. And then, of course, at the end of the meeting, we'll do our attendance raffle where you get to go to the table and pick something if you've never been here before. The members all provide stuff, and we put it on the table, and then we draw tickets, and you go up when your ticket's called, and you pick out something. So that's kind of how we share it as a club. It went backwards. So the mission statement is up there, and it's probably a good time to review it. As much as I don't want to read it, I'm going to because of what we've talked about today. So it is to create an aquarium club of like-minded aquarists to discuss the aquarium hobby, learn from fellow aquarists and professionals, have aquarium-related events for members to exchange in fish and plants, promote the hobby beyond our group to encourage fish keeping within our community. And so we are working on ways that we can do that, and so as a board member, you'll be asked to also participate in finding ways that we can do those things. Congratulations to Cassandra on being our most recent banner contest winner. If you are on the Facebook group and have never participated, I wanted to make an announcement on this because somebody, I think it was Dave, had mentioned it. I'm doing it annually now because it was really, really frustrating to try and keep up with going back to a rolling 12 months. I'm not doing that. So it's annually. So it's for 2023. Once you win the banner contest, you can't win again, but definitely submit your photos. The more the merrier, and we'll still like them. You do vote by liking, and the one that gets the most like becomes the banner. And there'll be a new July contest posted soon, whenever I get to it. August meeting, Tanner Kesterson has been here. I don't know if you guys know that guy, but he has no idea what he's talking about, and but he's really funny. No, Tanner's awesome. Tanner's a good friend of mine, and he's going to be talking about planted tanks. We get a lot of requests to talk about plants. He's going to mainly be talking about high-tech plants and maybe a little bit on some low-tech plants that you could use instead of high-tech plants, because a lot of us aren't ready to get into CO2 yet. Club announcements. We want to thank Cassandra and Dave Broussard for volunteering to be moderators. The Facebook group has grown. We're almost at 2,000 members on the Facebook group. And the Facebook group exists to support the club. And that will always be the case. Like, this is the club. This is where we meet. The Facebook group is there for us to communicate throughout the week or throughout the month and to stay in touch and all that. Those 2,000 people, they're there. They often try to post their fish they want to sell or all kinds of stuff. And we try to keep that off the group because that's not the purpose of it. There's other groups where you can do that, and that's what we tell them. We're very thankful for the help with moderating because we actually have run into a few situations where even the 5 of us weren't available. They were dealing with stuff, and they were the ones actually messaging us anyway and saying. So when I say volunteer, it was kind of a, hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to do it? Volunteer. But they were ready to move in. They were already doing it. You just didn't have the power to make the decision. So we've done that, and that's going to be great. I skipped. On the 19th of August, this is Chattanooga, right? Yep. CAAS, 3rd annual swap meet will be taking place. We can get you the information. It looks like it is local coffee off East Ridge. You can probably read that better than I can over there. But you can get the information. If you're on Facebook, the events are easy to find. Let us know if you need help finding it. I am actually trying to make it to this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We met some of the people from the Chattanooga Club at our swap, and so I'm interested in reconnecting with them.
If anybody's interested in carpooling, that might be
Yeah.
an option. Because I'm thinking about going too. So maybe like start in the chat, throwing out, hey, so many people are interested in trying to carpool together.
Yeah. Yeah, or we can put a post on the group too. All right. So I like the clicker. The clicker's nice. Announcements, merch information. We do have stickers, we do have hats, and we have shirts. We're starting to run out of the colorful shirt. We're still getting requests on that one, so I think we're out of XLs. We might have every other size, not the browns. We've got some sizes, so we're going to be getting another order. One thing we wanted to talk about is we're also going to try to do a fun design. We like to throw in something different. You know, we've had 3 different shirts, and I think they've progressively gotten better, although I still love this shirt. The next one we'd like you all to consider and give us feedback. We've got this more kind of fun logo. It's not our logo, but it is a version of our logo. And we're thinking about putting it either on a tank. If you're into tanks, I'm not. But if you're into tanks, or a tie-dye shirt. So we thought it might be fun. JT thought it might be fun to have a tie-dye shirt. He proposed it, and I agree. I don't wear tie-dye, but I would wear our tie-dye shirt. I might wear our tank. I would buy one, but yeah, we're looking at whether or not we can do both. We're looking at what we can do. So let us know. Give us the feedback. What do you think? I think it's pretty cool. I think it would look awesome on a tie-dye tank. I think that's what we should do.
Also, those other 2 colors right there, those are new colors, the green and the charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what the Gen 4 shirt's going to be, one of those 2 colors, or maybe both. We can split the order up with some different sizes, as well as the tank, or if we go with like a shirt or a tie-dye or something. That's kind of just anything. Now, we've had those, our normal club logo, and then we've had that logo as another option. So when my wife did the logos initially, first go around, there's actually a third one that you've probably never even seen. That may come out in a shirt down the road or something, but that's one that we haven't really posted yet, just like something fun. So we're looking to change it up and get some different things going.
So be on the lookout for that. And at the table, you can definitely buy a hat. They're awesome. I really love my hat. And then the stickers are available too. We got 3 sizes in the stickers currently. And the prices aren't here, so ask the person at the table. So the Fall Aquatic Market, October 28th. It's going to be at the Lions Club where we've been meeting. So this is the 4th official ETAA event. The entrance fee will be a $2 donation. As far as tables go, you were going to talk about this. As far as tables go, it's $20 for a full table, $10 for a half table. Anything else?
So all I can say is this market, in my opinion, is probably going to be the biggest one so far yet. Every market has been bigger each time. Based off how many tables we already have pre-booked, it's going pretty quick. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me in Messenger or email.
We do have a limited number of spots.
We don't have the most spots.
Yeah. We're making some changes.
Our correct measurements, so we'll have all the.
We got in trouble after the last meeting because we stayed behind and was measuring, and we stayed past our time, and they showed up and they were like, "You can't be in here past the time." So we won't do that again. We have to, which is why I said teardowns actually got to take place earlier.
Hey, quick question. The swap's growing, or the marketplace is growing.
Yeah.
Have y'all looked at, because I think it's going to outgrow that spot pretty soon.
It is.
Have y'all looked at other
Yeah,
places?
so we have, and we've discussed it. We want to stay there as long as possible. One, because it doesn't cost a lot. They're very reasonable. Even when they were like, "We're going to raise our rates. We'll send you the new rates," and we were like, "That's still good." So it's a good spot. We checked. We don't feel that we've outgrown it yet, but after the October one, we'll reevaluate and see. We're not booking ahead more than a few months, so we would have the option of looking at another place.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, it is a good problem to have. And we were talking about, they've got a back room that we've never used, that we were talking, maybe we put all the salt vendors in there and turn the lights low so that you can get a better look at corals and stuff. And then that would free up some space in the main room. For more things. And we've got artists, we've got plant trolleys already said they want to be back. As soon as we announced it, we had people booking. So if,
1 or 2 other plant places.
Yeah.
So far, so it's kind of going fast. So I'm kind of shocked and surprised.
Yeah, we've talked to people about food. There may be food, not confirmed yet, but we're working on stuff like that because when you've been there for 4 hours, you want to eat. So yeah. Anything else?
Well, I will say, if anybody has a large venue located in the Knoxville region, we're open to other options. If there's maybe a different price, if it's somewhat comparable, but the space is much larger, we're not 100% that we can can still
Yep.
back out technically because we still got quite a ways,
Yeah.
so,
What kind of capacity are you looking for?
well,
Like, what are you at right now with the Lions Club?
as far as table,
As far as tables or
I
space?
think we can
or
fit
people?
like 32 tables in Lions Club.
And we had 20 in there last time.
Well, yeah, like 24.
Well, 24, but they weren't all filled, so yeah, 24.
Well, we
Okay.
actually had 26 tables, and then some people backed out day of, so we
Yeah.
had like 23, something like that, actual vendors.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, we're the deal that, or not deal, but the way the Lions Club operates, we have plenty of time to back out if someone has
We
something.
did have to schedule pretty
Yeah.
early in advance because those weekends do book up and Lions close.
Which is why it's the 28th. We were trying to work around fall break, and also it was already booked the time that we actually wanted. So that's where we ended up with the 28th. So we'll have a Halloween theme. There'll be a costume contest, all that stuff. Maybe. All right. Anything else? I feel like I'm prodding
If
you.
anybody has anything, just let me know.
Yeah.
Information-wise, if you got it.
We'll probably talk about
Okay, just message.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And with that, I will introduce James Mitchell with Fish Room Fever.
Hello. Make sure this
You're
thing is
perfect.
on. They never let me clip this on the beard. They always make me hide it somewhere. So give me just a second for that. Real quick, I would like to give a round of applause to the board members and to the new moderators. I appreciate everything that you all do. You're awesome, and thank you so much. So, we will not be talking about fish today. That's the bad news. The good news is, this is a quick presentation, so we can get to the raffle sooner. This is also a brand new presentation that I just put together yesterday because I had lost my thumb drive. So, I'm as curious to see how well this goes as you are. Habits of successful fish keepers. This is not me sitting up here telling you I am a successful fish keeper and this is how you should do things. I really enjoy observing people and looking at analytics and kind of trends and things like that. And I've gotten to do a lot of things that have allowed me to meet some interesting people, and we'll get more into that. Before we do, though, I want to share a number with you and make sure I've got the right button on my own clicker here. Yeah. 12 million. Does anybody want to guess what that number is? Come on, this is going to be interactive. I'll let y'all know now. I do live streams, and I'm used to having anywhere upwards of 200 people in a chat trying to figure out what's going on. Anybody want to give it a guess? I like that, but no. That is one of many different source numbers of households that have a box full of water in the United States. That's a lot of people. It's not all fish. A lot of that's invertebrates. That includes people that just have an axolotl, things of that nature. But that's a lot of fish keepers. The problem that I have seen over the years, and why I kind of developed this topic, if you will, is that most people leave the hobby. And it's really hard to get these numbers solid anywhere. There's nowhere that just has all the data put together. This has come from years of me, analyzing things, talking to people, talking to fish store owners, just kind of seeing friends come and go. Anybody that's been on the YouTube, kind of in the chats, you can look back at older chats and you can say, well, all these people, I used to talk to, they're not here anymore. But from what I have been able to put together and what other people have been able to put together, about 60% of people that set up an aquarium will get rid of it. They get in the hobby, usually they fail, that's typically the problem, and they get out of it. Average life cycle, again, these numbers are not solid data, but about 6 months. Somebody will go into the pet store, and this is why we see kind of, buy all this real quick. They want to sell while they can because people hang around for 6 months. Use the laser pointer there and try this thing out. And then they leave. So this is kind of my way of trying to help people stay in the hobby. So that's what this is. There we go. Who gave this guy a clicker? So why am I up here? A smart man that I know once said, if you want people to give you any of their attention, at least give them some kind of reason as to why you're standing up there with the clicker presenting. Just a fish nerd. I don't have a degree. I don't have any breeder awards or anything like that. I've got a little YouTube channel. But other than that, I am just a fish nerd. Sorry. Again, this is a different slideshow, so I'm like, what did I put on here? I did this about, 15 hours ago? So yeah. About me, again, with the YouTube channel, I've gotten to go all over the country. I've gotten to become friends with, people that are experts, people that run fish stores, people that have combined centuries of experience, and I've dealt with hundreds of thousands of fish. So I looked at what has made those people successful and how can we pass that on. Myself personally, I've had, I don't know how many tanks, more than I probably care to admit, but I've had hundreds of tanks. I've been doing this for years, since before I can remember, when I was a kid. Done everything from your little nanoscape tanks with nanofish to monster fish. That was my thing about 10 years ago was, 120 was my small tank. I had the Pacu and I had all the big fish. And I enjoyed it. And I've done fresh and salt water. So I've done a little bit of everything. Happy fish make babies. Those are just a couple of the things that I have bred. I've done piranhas, plecos, various cichlids, egg scatterers, and inverts. So it's a little bit about me. Again, I'm not an expert, just a fish nerd with a laser pointer. Top off your tank. So see, I'm missing a slide. So that's my fault. So somebody that came from the business world, acronyms were a huge thing. There was always some new acronym that came down. So TANK is my acronym for Time Acquiring New Knowledge. So not going and actually topping your tank off with water, but adding information to your own personal database, kind of learning more. These are just some of the different ways and kind of where they fit in terms of how you can utilize them. So your blogs and articles, they're great for quick info. Maybe you've got 5 minutes, you can grab one of those while you're sitting in the car on a break or something like that. If you're wanting to get a little bit more in depth with a topic, I guess I could go off of this. I forget the computer's there. If you want to get a little bit more in depth, maybe you want to learn a little bit more about something. So, okay, I read an article about, we'll say live foods, for example, but I want to get a little bit more in depth on it. Let me see if I can find a book on it. Generally, they've got a little bit more detailed information, and they'll give you a better understanding. Presentations. Typically, they're very specialized. We have live foods, or this is plants, or we're going to talk killifish, or we're going to talk whatever rare species that's found here. They're typically very specialized, and they're typically, excluding this one, given by a professional or an expert, somebody that, has really done a deep dive into that. Your videos and live streams, this is a digital era, so a lot of people spend a lot of time online. Videos are great for a lot of different sources, but also, okay, I need to find out maybe a species spotlight. That's one of the things that I've done. If maybe I know a little bit about a fish and I'm in a pet store and I want to know, is this really going to be compatible with what I want to do? I'll pull up like maybe a Rachel O'Leary video for those of you that watch YouTube. And I'll go, okay, let me watch the species spotlight. All right, great. Finding a reliable source is really the thing there. And I always recommend that you find a couple people, not necessarily with the same opinion on everything. That way you can look and you go, okay, well, John said this, and Corey said that, and Mitch said this. So let me factor these. I always go with Mitch. If Mitch has got a video on it, I watch that, and that is my deciding factor right there. But it makes life so easy. Again, you could jump back to, I'm in the fish store, let me read a quick article about whatever this fish is, if you've got them. But in this day and age, a lot of people are doing videos. Live streams have a lot of varying purposes for me, particularly, and for a lot of people I've noticed. They're one of those things that can be great to throw on in the background when you're doing your tank maintenance. Hey, so-and-so's got an hour-long or 3-hour live stream, and I've got to drain 72 tanks. Let me throw it on and listen to that. They're also great if maybe you need some help right now and you can't get a hold of a buddy, and we'll talk more about friends in a minute. But they can be a great place to go in because there's almost always somebody live on YouTube that's talking about fish, surprisingly. But to get in a live chat and go, my fish is doing this, can you help? if you're looking for something that's like maybe diagnosing some spots on a fish or something, that's where I would take it to Facebook or something like that. But I really do enjoy the right here, right now aspect of the live chats and the live streams on YouTube. And I guess there's other platforms as well, but really YouTube's where I go to. Other fish keepers, interactive learning, hanging out talking, before events or at the local fish store. Hey, I'm doing this with my pond, back and forth. It's really nice to have other people that enjoy the hobby and that are passionate to bounce information off of, bounce ideas off of. My buddy Ed's not here. I usually am pointing at him for a lot of this stuff. But he's one of those that I'll be like, hey, I'm doing this. And he'll be like, well, I tried this. And I was like, well, okay, let me give that a shot. All right, clicker button. I forgot my little, does anybody know what the next one is? This one I left off. Normally I ask if anybody knows what the best way to do it is. Let's spend time with your own tank. That is a great way to spend time acquiring new knowledge. The information that you get from sitting, watching your tank, watching your fish, seeing how they interact with each other, how they interact, in different foliage or different water flow. That knowledge that you get is extremely valuable. I'm going to grab my water real quick. Sorry, I wear dentures and they like to dry out when I'm talking loudly. But yeah, that is probably one of the best ways to do it. It's free. You don't have to go anywhere to do it. And you're also getting to get some of your investment back, if you will, because you're spending time with that thing that you've probably spent a lot of money on, Most of us have put more than we want to admit or tell the significant other we've put into it, right? Exercise time. All right, let's get active. We're going to do some jumping jacks. No, I'm kidding. Does this look like I do jumping jacks? No, okay. This will work fairly well. This is a mostly packed area in here, so this works. Without doing an assault and battery on anybody, just kind of look around who's next to you. How many of you can reach out and touch somebody? Don't actually do it. But how many of you... We all want to hit him sometimes. We do it after. We do it after. You know that, Cassandra. We have to wait till we're done. How many of you can reach out and touch somebody that you either don't know their name or don't know what they keep at home, fish-wise? A couple people. Okay, yeah. So yeah, most of us, we kind of... Human nature is we see a familiar face, we gravitate towards that person, and then that's our thing. That's our safety net, kind of, which is great, and that's fine. That's how we build really good friendships. But we're all fish nerds, and we all enjoy talking about fish. And I guarantee if I walk up to this gentleman and say, "Hey, what's your name? What kind of fish do you keep?" He would love to tell me about his fish, probably, right? And the same with most of us in here. That's why on this is not a plug, but on one of my hoodies, I put "Ask me about my fish," because I'll be standing in line at the bank, the grocery store, things like that, and it's a conversation starter. And then people are like, "Well, tell me about your fish." I'm like, "Well, I've got these tanks," and almost always, if they don't keep fish, they have at some point. And they're like, "I used to, but then we get into, then this happened, and this died, and I quit." So that was our exercise. I hope everybody made it okay. Not too much sweating. We're good. Make fishy friends. Fish nerds are fun people. I mean, you get there's always the outlier. There's always that, we'll call him the grumpy old man that doesn't want to be bothered, that's been doing this for 70 years, and he doesn't need to talk to anybody, and he wants to be left alone. But generally speaking, we're a friendly group of people. Don't be afraid to talk to a new face, or even if it's not a new face, a person that you haven't talked to before, and go, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, and I have 27 fish tanks, and this is what I keep. I like cichlids, or I like guppies, or, what are you into?" And start that conversation. Local aquarists are valuable friends. A lot of different reasons, as you can see. Local fish store runs. My buddy Ed, who's going to be sitting in that seat, he's here with me in spirit. Love him. I don't know where he's at, but I'm going to pretend he's there. He's one of those guys that will play it out. "Hey, we're going to go down to Atlanta, and we're going to hit 5 fish stores." Or, "Hey, I'm going to Aquatic Marine. Do you want to meet me?" Yeah, we'll do that. And then, hey, maybe we go to the aquarium or, wherever. Even if it's just one fish store, it's still nice to have somebody to go to. You're spending that time that we talked about earlier. And then you're just getting to hang out with the fish nerd, which is fun. You can share what you've been doing lately. They can share what they've been doing lately. Oftentimes, we've got typically similar conditions. So even though Cassandra and I may not share the same municipal water source, or like I have well water and, you know, somebody may have city and you've got Powell and you've got, you know, Knoxville, generally speaking, the conditions are fairly similar with the water that we're getting and the environment that we're in also. So I will, you know, I'm going to start doing some ponds or some tubs. And I haven't really done a lot because I haven't had space, but we just purchased 26 acres in Maynardville. So I've got a ton of room, and I'm going to do some really big ponds. I'm going to do some live food tubs, which is when I'm going to be reaching out to you and going, hey, you know, I've already got about 1,000 gallons of green water going in different places. But it's nice to be able to go, Ed, I'm going to do guppies in a tub this year. What month do you normally put out? Or have you already put out your ponds? Are you already doing your tubs? A lot of times, the fish that we're getting are from the same environment, you know. Even if you go to aquarium and I go to Aquatic Marine, chances are they probably get them from the same wholesaler. So the fish are going to have a similar environment they're coming from. Swap buddies. I know we're getting rid of that word, but this is not that swap. This is a different swap. It's great when I've got way too much guppy grass. Hey, Mitch, you want some guppy grass? And you go, wait, you know what? I've got to get this val out of here. I've got way too much jungle val. You want some jungle val? Or even fish. You know, hey, I bred way too many of these guppies or these endlers or whatever fish it is. I've got way too many of these. You want some of this? And, you know, even if it's not, never look for the quid pro quo in it. Like my buddy Ed and I don't know where we are on who owes what to who, you know, and how balanced it is, because it's not the way that we have the relationship. It's, I have excess of this, let me give it to you. And then if you have excess of something and you want to give it to me, that's awesome. And that's the relationship that I would try and build. And the more people you build that with, sooner you're looking around going, well, shoot, Mitch just gave me a whole bunch of this, and Corey gave me a bunch of guppy grass, and this guy wants to give me, you know, 2 tanks worth of fish. And it can be in your benefit, aside from having that friendship, to have access to, I guess you could say resources, those resources. And, you know, who doesn't love free plants and fish and stuff like that, right? The online community, I know a lot of people are not into this, but it's kind of where I come from. Again, coming from the YouTube side of things, and normally I'm sitting here looking at my reflection in a lens instead of faces directly in front of me. I love the online community. They can be a valuable resource for other reasons. You know, they can't show up and help you move a tank necessarily, although I have known some people that would drive 7 hours to help me move, you know, a big tank. So you can kind of build some of those relationships, but I find that, say it's, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning here. Probably not a whole lot of us are awake. I am, but most people have, you know, solid jobs and they have these set schedules and things like that. Online community, I've got people all over the world that I'm in contact with. So maybe nobody here is up, but I can text or, you know, Facebook message John that's, you know, halfway across the world. Hey, what's going on? I'm dealing with this, or, you know, I'm having this thought, or I want to try this concept. What do you think? The forums, I know that's kind of a dying thing, I guess you could say. Aquarium Co-op does have a really awesome forum. Discord, it's not my thing. I've tried it. I even have my own members only Discord that my YouTube members can go into, and they talk with members from other channels. I've tried to do it and it's just not for me. I can't. And then of course Facebook, beware the fish police. And they're not just on Facebook, but I will tell you, if you're going into the online community to try and find friendly faces and knowledgeable people, you will run into those people that will tell you, you have to do this, you can't do that. And those are the people that generally, if someone says, well, this is the only way, or you cannot do this, you usually want to turn around and run. I usually don't even walk, I just turn and run. Well, you know, not physically run, because I don't do that anymore. But I move quickly with a purpose, you know, kind of waddle past them. But that is something to be on the lookout for, as I have unfortunately seen some negative interactions online, and then people get really discouraged. They're like, well, I don't want to share a picture of a new tank. That's a great one. I've seen people go, this is my brand new tank. I just got in the hobby and I set this up. And maybe they've got an Oscar in a 20-gallon, you know, and it's this big, and maybe pet store didn't tell them that, hey, you're going to need a bigger tank. Instead of kind of going, hey, you know, just so you know, this is that fish and this is how big it's going to get, you might want to keep that in mind. You get the people that come in and go, shame on you for doing that. How dare you? And that's just not the way to treat people. So be aware of that. This last one is a whole talk in and of itself. So I'll be kind of quick on it. But getting your family and roommates involved, it doesn't necessarily mean trying to get them to set up their own tank or trying to take over your tank maintenance, which I know a lot of us are like, man, if I could get the missus in here to help, which mine does, that would be great. She'll do it. Like if I have to go out of town for a week to an Aquashella, because I'm on the planning board with them, so I have to go early and come back. I don't just get to do the 2 days. But if I go for one of those, you know, she'll feed the fish, she'll do any water changes that need done, which typically in a week don't. But it's great to have people that are in your household and can share even a small part of your aquatic experience. So what I have found usually to be helpful, number one is babies. A lot of times that's kind of the biggest one, that if, you know, the significant other sees little baby fish, you're like, oh, there's little baby fish. So that piques a lot of curiosity and interest. But it can be odd things. It could be, I'm going to use you again for an example, live foods. You know, I've got some people that don't really care about my fish keeping, but they're really interested in my live food cultures. It could be a particular plant. You know, maybe they don't care about your tank, or they don't care about the overall look of it or the fish health or anything like that. But they really like that crinum that you've got in there. And so they'll check that thing out. They go, hey, did you notice the tip of that one leaf was brown? No, I didn't notice that. I've got 15 other tanks I'm dealing with. Or, hey, did you notice there's some little babies in this tank? No, I didn't notice that. Let me go look at that. Which, you know, I try to notice these things, but, you know, you get upwards of 100 tanks. It's hard to always have eyes on everything. It's also real fun if you can get the kids involved, because, you know, they'll do the same thing and they've got that young, awesome excitement. Daddy, there's babies in there. My youngest, I probably should post some of them, but he has taken a cell phone several times and he's done his own little tours. And he'll take the phone and he's like, and these are this and these are that, and here's the catfish, and there's this pleco, and these are Congo tetras. And he doesn't want to run his own tank. He wants me to die so he can have my YouTube channel, but he doesn't want to, you know, set up his own tank. But he really enjoys the fish. He loves to help me feed the fish. He loves setting up the brine shrimp hatchery, which is awesome. But he doesn't want a tank in his room. He'd rather enjoy mine. So those are just a couple of the ways that you could try and get people involved without, I feel like, the common problem of, well, I want to get my missus or, you know, the husband to set up a tank. Don't start there. Start small. You know, maybe find, like I said, a plant, or, you know, maybe it's some kind of aquascape or a different fish or fish babies or something. Try and get them involved that way. I'm going to breeze through this so we can keep it kind of short. So this is a crossover list. As you're looking for friends in the hobby, these are some of the things that I try and make sure that I've encompassed all of this into my fishy friends. Similar interests, of course, that makes sense. Again, we kind of gravitate to that. Oh, you keep cichlids, I keep cichlids, you're my friend. Let's go to the fish store. You know, you have guppies, I have guppies, you're my friend. Let's go to the fish store. Different niches, though. I find that to be extremely helpful in terms of acquiring that new knowledge and also learning about things that maybe you don't need that information now, but, you know, a month from now, a year from now, you go, wait a minute, I was talking to so-and-so, and they told me about this, and now that's extremely helpful to me. I've had that happen before. That actually happens a lot from live streams, because hundreds of hours of water changes, so I have live streams in the background, and then my mind will pick up, oh yeah, I heard so-and-so talk about this. John mentioned this in a live stream, and so you don't always have the opportunity, but I'll text him and go, hey, what was this? But you could go back and you can maybe find that, or hopefully you've picked up that knowledge and kind of retained it somewhere. but it is nice to make friends with people outside of your specific clique, if you will. I have found that one of the reasons I stayed away from fish clubs was for so long was because a lot of the ones that I had been to were very, very cliquey. It was like, well, we're about African cichlids in this club, and if you're not an African cichlid person, we don't care if you keep fish. It's like, well, the missus likes African cichlids. Can I still come to the fish club, you know? So I find that has been, I don't want to say detrimental to the hobby, but it's definitely had a negative impact. Anytime you start to form cliques, it's great to have really good friends, really close friends, but when it gets to that point of exclusion where you're like, if you're not about this, we don't want you, which is not a jab at we want to keep the club like this, by the way. I know I turned this way. It's not. Or maybe it is, and I'm not telling you. But it's good to have people that know different things. Make friends with your local fish store. You're going to go there. I mean, regardless of which one or all of them, it's nice to make friends with the local employees. If you can make friends with the owner, that's really great. Most of us, who in here spends a good bit of money on fish, right? All of us do. So it's nice to make friends with them. Sometimes you can get some added benefits from that. Like, hey, this local fish store owner's got a storage unit full of fish tanks, and he wants to sell them. And I get first dibs to go in there and go, hey, which for the record, I just added 20 feet of the systems that Aquatic has. I just picked up 20 feet of those triple stack tanks. So that'll be coming soon. That's part of the expansion at the house. And I'm really excited about that. The building got dropped off yesterday. So that'll be fun. But even if it's just as simple as building that relationship so that you can maybe get them to do a special order for a fish that maybe they wouldn't order. I know ours are pretty good about that, but some fish stores don't do that because they get people every day like, hey, can you order this for me? And that person doesn't even live around, and they're never going to come back there. Or they think they're going to come back there, but really they're just like, no, I'm not driving 3 hours to pick that fish up even though you ordered it for me. If you can find a specialist, and what I mean by that is Mitch. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do Mitch again. Excuse me. If you can find people that specialize in different things, so not that I'm not always looking for friends, but I don't try and find 5 people that are all experts in, CO2 planet tanks. I'd like to have somebody that's an expert in live foods, somebody that's an expert, well, back to killifish. I want to have people that specialize in things so that when I do need that higher level of knowledge, if I do need it, which for me it's a win, I have access to that. Yeah, I can go back to the articles and the blogs and things like that, but if I've got somebody that's local to me that I can reach out to and go, hey, I wasn't really thinking, and I just picked up 5 pairs of killifish at the swap because it was a really good deal, and they were really pretty. Help. It's nice to have somebody go, well, first off, you're an idiot, and you should have thought first. Second off, congratulations on getting into killifish. And thirdly, here's what you need to do. So it's nice to have those people that are a little bit more specialized, which kind of lumps in with the more experienced, but doesn't have to be specialized. I don't specialize in anything. If anything, I specialize in people. I come from owning companies, running businesses, doing management, and just really doing a lot of observation and psychology work. But I don't specialize in any particular fish. Like I said, nanoplants to monsters, planet tanks, freshwater, saltwater. I've done it all, but when I've done it, I've always done it big, if you will. I've never done just like one tank. So when I have tanks, I've got dozens and dozens of tanks. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to kind of compact years of experiencing and trying different things and seeing what works and what doesn't versus somebody that says, okay, I have one tank and I'm going to set it up for a year planted. And then maybe now I'm going to try it with some cichlids. Then maybe now I'm going to try it with that. It has allowed me to, I keep looking, please don't step on my phone. You're not stepping on it. My fear is like my phone's going to get busted. And I have to go play Pokemon Go after this. That was the promise when they dropped me off, was we'd go play Pokemon. But if you can find somebody that has got a lot of experience, but maybe doesn't have a specialty, so to speak, it's great to have those people. Again, particularly if they're local to you and they go, man, I've been keeping fish in Knoxville for 30 years, let me tell you, the water used to be like this, then they've changed it to that, and this is what works now, and this worked 5 years ago, and this didn't. But even if they're not local, having somebody to reach out to that goes, they've been through the ups and the downs, because let's be honest, probably everybody in here has killed a fish. And if you haven't already, you will, I promise, it'll happen. It's just part of the hobby. It's a learning experience. Not that it's a good thing, but it's not really something that I've ever seen anybody avoid. I've never seen anybody that came in and didn't what they call fail. But what I consider failing is when something bad happens and then you leave. That's really when I see the failure. And that's what this is about. This is about not just us becoming better fish keepers, but us becoming better community builders, being better hobbyists and helping one another out. And I enjoy that. And maybe that's just a me thing, but I really like when Mitch sends me a link and goes, hey, this guy's setting up a piranha tank. Can you help him? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. I'd love to get somebody going into piranhas that doesn't keep piranhas, even though they bit the crap out of me, but that's another presentation. A learning buddy. So that is somebody that I would say is kind of on your level. And the reason I like to have somebody that's around the same kind of level as myself, and I kind of encourage that, is because not intentionally, and not all the time, but sometimes you'll run into somebody that has all of that experience, and it can be kind of overwhelming trying to learn from that person. Sometimes they can be condescending unintentionally. One thing that I have found, and this is a shame on me for doing it, is I have forgotten to keep in mind things that I know to be true and have already learned that are basics or essentials, and have forgotten to relay those things. So, how the cycle works. That's just a given for me. I know how it works. It's an assumed. There are other things, and I can't place them right now, but I have forgotten as somebody that's trying to help. Oh, I should tell you this because it's just so basic to me. It's ingrained into my fish keeping. So that's when it's nice to have somebody that's kind of on your level and you can kind of learn at the same time and grow and develop. And you're both kind of making mistakes together versus always going, Mitch, I know I killed 5 fish last week. I just killed 2 more this week, and now my plants are brown. Can you help me again? I mean, that kind of gets a little old for you, feeling bad, going and simply going, hey, I keep screwing up and I need you to fix this. And it can get kind of old for that person going, yeah, I told you not to put any more fish in there. Well, I tested it and the water said it was fine. Yeah, but lots of different instances of that. The final one, and the reason I put it last, is because it's something that you don't have to do. But again, people that I've seen that have been in the hobby and that have been successful, they help other people. So once you've got some knowledge, and it doesn't have to be a lot of knowledge. You don't have to be a specialist. You don't have to have 27 years of, background in killifish to help somebody. Or, hey, I've been breeding live bearers since 1957. It doesn't have to be that. Once you have some basic knowledge, more than your average person that's walking in to set up their first tank at the fish store, be available to help people. Each one, teach one. Find somebody else that you can help them grow in the hobby, because that's going to also be somebody that's more likely to stay in the hobby if they can maybe avoid a couple of those dead fish, or they can avoid some of those plants dying off. So I really encourage that. Does that technically make you a better fish keeper? Maybe not. I feel like it does, because it also gives me a challenge. I'll run into instances and circumstances I haven't had to deal with where I'm trying to help somebody, and then I have to go, well, I thought I knew a lot, but I really don't know on that. Let me reach out to one of my specialist friends or somebody that's mentored me in the past, or hey, I know, I can reach out to Corey Korean Co-op and find out, or, whoever it is. I don't know this, but I bet Rusty Wessel does, something like that. Make friends and then teach people. All right, let's move on, because I know you all want to get to this raffle. I'm not going to read all of these off, but I will say the people that I have seen be the most successful, they have found their passion. We all love fish keeping. I mean, nobody's going to deny that. We all love fish keeping. But the most successful people, or most of the successful people, have found something in particular that they are super passionate about. I mean, I absolutely love breeding fish. If we wanted to get really, really specific, I really love breeding plecos. I've done piranhas, and I still do live bearers and a whole bunch of other stuff. But That is my thing. I love breeding, and then down to some specific fish. It could be any of these things and things that are not on this list. You know, species niche. Man, I really, really love cory cats. You know, I like other fish. I enjoy fish tanks, but I really want to know all I can know about cory cats, and I want to breed them, and I want to be the first person to breed this species, you know, in captivity because they're always wild caught. Nobody's done it yet. Still haven't bred those zebra plecos, by the way. We're 3 years in now. We'll get there. We'll get there. But as you're going through the hobby and you're trying different things and you're learning, don't be afraid to maybe look into something you haven't tried or take a deeper dive into something you've just barely touched on a little bit, because you never know. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy doing live foods until I got into it. And it's fun. I interact with the kids, and it's kind of like a science project. But it could be anything. It could be any of these things. I'm not going to read them all off. And again, it could be something not on this list. But most people that have been in the hobby for years, they've been extremely successful. They're, you know, breeding fish, or they're keeping fish successfully that are rare, endangered, or things like that. And that's another one, you know. I know people that they're passionate in the hobby. They like fish keeping, but they really like keeping those, the Cares fish. That's their thing. If it's a Cares fish, they're all over it. They want to learn everything about it if they don't know it, and they want to keep it. Consistency is key, developing a routine. Do you have to do this? No. Does it make life so much easier if you figure out a routine? Yes. Well, James, what's a good routine? I can't tell you. That's my non-answer. It's very individualized, and it's going to vary between each and every one of us. What works for me probably and almost definitely won't work for you, because you've got different tanks, different fish, different time requirements. But I like to break it down into a couple things that we do all have in common: days, weeks, and months. And there are other things. It could be a bi-weekly and so on and so forth. And we don't go out to 6 months, which is usually when most of us clean our canister filter, right? 6 months to a year. Yeah, probably. But daily things. These are just some things for me. Feeding. I have to reset my brine shrimp hatchery. I like to do fry checks because I've got some live bears that the mamas will just devour those things, so I have to pull them, put them in different tanks. And then just an overall system check. Is anything leaking? Are all the lights working? Is there, oh no, there's algae in this tank, which I like algae, but that's just me. Oh, in certain tanks, not in fancy tanks. Develop a weekly routine of, hey, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, I turn on this live stream and I bang out my water changes. It's going to vary. I work on Wednesdays. We'll do it on Tuesday. We'll do it on Monday. Do it at 5 o'clock in the morning if you want. But figure out a time that works for you and then make it a habit. Sorry. Because I've found, so I'll use one example, and I've met him, I've talked with him, but I don't know him personally, and that would be Master Breeder Dean, that some of you may know from Aquarium Co-op and his videos. He is one of those people that it doesn't matter what he's doing. When it's time for his nighttime fish feeding, he'll walk right out that door. It doesn't matter. He's going to feed those fish at 8 o'clock. Doesn't matter if he's at a fancy restaurant, he's gone. He's also at a much higher level than most of us, including myself. But everybody's got their routine. I go through, I check this, I do that, I fill this, I feed these, make that happen. We're going to jump through here. Learning positive patience. So I don't want to say I coined the phrase positive patience, but I feel like a lot of people misinterpret patience for laziness. They'll be like, well, my tank's been set up for 6 months and it looks like that. Well, you can't just sit there and technically you could if you set it up right and you have the knowledge. You could set it up and leave it for 6 months and it looks beautiful if you know how to do it. But most people just coming into the hobby, you have to, tend to these things. You're going to have to work on it. No clue who Ray Davis is, but I found this quote and I absolutely love it. Patience is not passive waiting. Patience is active acceptance of the process required to attain your goals and dreams. Again, thanks, Ray. No clue who you are, but that really sums up what I feel about patience. And the reason I bring that up is because that's the next thing we're going to talk about. I'm going to make some of you mad, or madder than you already are for having to listen to this idiot. Yes, I'm guilty of doing these things. Are they always bad things? No. But When I look at things and I analyze from a critical perspective of new fish keeper in the hobby, doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know the processes. Well, I've got algae. All right, let me spend a bunch of money and dump a bunch of chemicals in. That'll fix my problem. Well, that'll get rid of the algae, but you still haven't fixed the problem. You haven't looked at your nutrients. You haven't looked at your lighting. You haven't figured out what's causing it. You're just spending money dumping it in there. 3 months, or not months, 3 weeks later, they're like, man, I spent $25 on this bottle and I dumped it in there and I've got algae. I don't get it. I'm not spending money on this hobby. I'm not doing this. Instant cycling. This definitely can be a positive, especially if you're somebody that's got tanks, you know what you're doing. Hey, I've got, pretty soon I'm going to have 80-something tanks to set up. Guess what? I've got tons of extra sponge filters, and all of my tanks are, getting ready for that process. That being said, a lot of people, they buy the little bacteria in a bottle. They set up their tank. It's first tank. They don't really know what they're doing. They know they need to dip this little strip in here, or they need to bring some water back to the fish store and give them $5 and find out what they're supposed to do. And it's like, if it's a good fish store, they tell them, hey, don't buy your fish today, let's let this tank get set up. But really, I prefer, I didn't coin the phrase, but seasoned tanks, tanks that you set it up, let it grow, you get some algae growing, you get that microflora and fauna in there, it's good for fish. Can we do it with a sponge filter that's been in another tank? Yes. But unfortunately, everybody wants to rush. They want all the things right now. And for new fish keepers, that often leads to failure, unfortunately, because they don't have people to talk to. They have the person, and this is not a dig at fish stores. I love Kenny at Aquatic Marine. He's one of my best friends in the fish hobby anyways. I always these are people and these are my fish people. But a lot of fish stores, they don't care if you're successful as a new fish keeper. They care about getting that money. And they know, that's part of where I got that data. They know, well, you're probably going to be out of this hobby in 6 months. So I need money now. Give me money now. Because you're going to turn over and somebody else is going to come in and I need money now. So if we can, excuse me, there it goes. If we can get out of the habit of rushing, learn a little bit of patience, that will help us, most experienced fish keepers. We can fudge things, right? You can fudge a brand new tank. He can fudge a brand new tank. Most of us can. Is that necessarily the best example to give to somebody brand new, though? Probably not. And then that just goes back to community building. We want people to be in this hobby long. We want this club to grow. We want Mitch and the board members to have the problem of, we don't know where to hold the monthly meetings because we can't fit enough people in the old place, We love Blunt, but we can't fit enough people in the historical mansion. And these are just some of the things that people don't really have patience on. Again, plant growth. I want plants now. Crank up the light. 16-hour day cycle. As bright as I can get it. You dump this bottle of fertilizer in there. This has got to be good, right? Just add some extra. It says 2 squirts. We'll give it like 6 or 7. Instead of kind of learning, hey, this is what's required. And having that patience. You're welcome. We're there. Final thoughts. And again, my apologies. New slideshow. A little rough. I did it after 2 days no sleep, and I just found out my grandma passed. So I would like to dedicate this to her because I cut the family part out, and she was a huge part in bringing me up and making me who I am and being involved in aquatic life. So love you, Grandma. You will be missed. But don't be afraid to pivot. Success doesn't mean necessarily always getting something right. There have been times where I have done way too much and I just wasn't going to be able to overcome it. I just set up 25 new tanks. Now I'm up to 97. Don't be afraid to pivot. It is much better to acknowledge the fact that, man, I need to have 5 tanks instead of 12 and stay in the hobby than me look on Craigslist and go, oh, this guy's got 12 tanks. He's getting out of the hobby. I get a discount. Let's go. Because unfortunately, I know we all love seeing free tanks on the side of the road. But the first thing my mind goes to when I see a tank on the side of the road is that's probably somebody we've lost out of the hobby. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it probably is. Generally speaking, if I have a tank, even if it's got a leak or something, and I'm staying in the hobby, I'm either going to keep it or, Mitch, I've got this tank, it needs sealed. Do you want it? Something like that. So my thought is always, yes, awesome free fish tank, but that really sucks that we've probably just lost somebody out of the hobby. Sometimes less is more. Again, going back to Don't be afraid to downsize. Don't be afraid to accept that you can't do all the things that you want to do right now. Find those things that, again, are your passion. Go, man, I have 12 tanks. I had to do this when I moved. When I moved from Powell out to Maynardville, we bought the property. I knew for a while I was not going to have a place to put all my fish tanks. I've still got, now that I've added that, I've got over 100 empty fish tanks right now that are waiting for this building to be set up. I've still got 3 dozen that are set up. But I had to go through and I had to look at tanks and I had to go, there's no way I'm getting rid of the zebra plecos. There's no way I'm getting rid of these piranhas. Those can go. There's no way I'm getting rid of these stack endlers. I had to pick and narrow down and go, these are the things that mean the most to me. These are the things that I'm the most passionate about. I can be happy fish keeping at this level. Do I love having 100-something tanks all going at all the things? You know, we all love all the things, right? Yes, but I'm also still happy with a couple dozen tanks with my rare species and things like that and stuff that I've had for years. My bi-shirts, they're not rare. I just absolutely love them. You know, they're fun fish and they're something I enjoy. Most importantly, have fun. You know, it can become a struggle. It can become a hassle. Bad things are going to happen. Things are going to die. Tanks are going to bust. And sometimes this hobby really blows. But it's nice when you have that support structure that we talked about, those friends to help you stay in the hobby and help keep you motivated. Go, yeah, man, I know that sucks that your 125 just blew out. Hey, you know, I've actually got a spare 75. We can get some fish moved into there. We'll you know, let's keep you going. But have fun. Always try and find the fun in all of it. So even in that, I would be like, well, this whole situation blows, but I get to go hang out with my buddy Ed because we're going to go pick up a tank together and we get to drive down to the store and do this. So try and find little things even when stuff's going bad. And finally, I have to leave that page in because I pulled the presentation thing and used all their little icons to make this. So there's the credits given. There's an email if you ever wanted to email me for whatever reason. I prefer not to get too much hate mail, but I do read it, so you're welcome to do that. Any questions? And it doesn't have to be specifically on this. If you've had a question, some of you know me from before this, that you want to ask me, any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Nope. All right. Well, I appreciate you all very, very much. I hope that was not too rough on you all, and hopefully maybe you learned a thing that you can implement at home. I will pass this over to Sandra, because you're doing the species spotlight, right? Sure. There we go. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's the down button.
Thanks. So, like our previous speaker, I've never seen these slides before. I sent these to JT last night, and he's like, sure, I'll make something up for you. So species spotlight for today is on one of the killifish that I keep. This is one of my favorite killies for many different reasons. One, because they're absolutely gorgeous. These two on top, this is the specific kind that I keep. That is my male right there. These I pulled off the internet. Let me get my notes before I go rambling on about some stuff. All right, so we'll start from over the top. They are a type of killifish. There are over 300 different types of killifish. They range from small to large. They're found all over the world. Some of them live for a short amount of time. Some of them live for a long amount of time. I will be giving a more in-depth presentation about killifish in general later on in the year. But for now, we'll just stick with these. They are a non-annual species, which means they live for about 3 to 5 years, just about your typical length for any other common aquarium species that we keep. They are found in West Africa, and specifically they're found in Gabon and Equatorial Guinea. They're usually found in shallow pools, rainforest types, shaded areas with a lot of dense plant vegetation. They are rather small side, so about, again, common aquarium species we keep in our tank, they're about 2 or 3 inches at max. The females, you can see they're very dimorphic sexually. The females are this kind of beige color. You can see these ones are collected. I'll go over this in more detail, but this last word here, this is the species name, Aphyosemium striatum. Lamborghini is the collection code where these were originally collected from. Lamborghini is a stream is the capital of Gabon in Africa, West Africa. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. GEMHS is another collection code. So these were collected in a different part of Africa at a different date. So the fish are the same species, but they look very different. The females are always lacking most of the coloration. You can't really see it in my picture, but my female, this Lamborghini, actually has a pattern, a striated pattern, these red dots over here that didn't really show up so well in the slides. But you can see the GMHS are lacking that same pattern. So depending on the collection code, the specific type of species that you get, it can actually have some different coloration in there. They are rather peaceful. You could keep them in a community tank. I have kept them in a community tank with some other fish before. The males can get a little bit territorial when they go to spawn. They're not to the point where they'll kill other fish, but they will actively chase off other fish once they find a little spot where they think is nice in the tank, where they want to spawn and set up. You could keep these with some mildly aggressive things like a dwarf cichlid, if you have a setup for that. Otherwise, I would keep them with peaceful things like tetras or cories or other kind of small, peaceful community fish that would get along great with them. They are micropredators. Their killifish are all tooth carp. So if you were able to zoom in really close on their mouths, you would see these ferocious, like jagged teeth everywhere, perfect for biting and thrashing things like Daphnia and scuds and whatnot. They love live food. They will take frozen food. You can adapt them to processed foods like flake or small grain foods, but they much prefer live or frozen foods. They're very easy if you're a breeder, if you just like to watch fish breed, they're very easy to breed in a tank. If you have enough cover or vegetation in your tank, you'll probably breed these accidentally. Killifish are driven to breed. The males are very what we call hard drivers in the breeding community. That means they want to make eggs all the time. The females are a little bit more reluctant, but once they're the right age, if you give them enough food and the right kind of cover, they will make eggs for you in the tank. They don't take care of their young at all. They have no parental instinct. Sometimes they will eat their own eggs. Sometimes they will eat their own fry. They will usually eat their own fry. I do like to, if I want to breed these at a larger scale, what I like to do is put them in a separate tank with either a bunch of moss or some acrylic spawning mops. And then I'll either remove the fish after a week or I'll remove the mops after a week and transfer them to a different tank so that I can raise the fry by themselves. As far as water parameters, they're pretty adaptable. They like a little bit of hardness because they're from that west region of Africa. There's a little bit of hardness in the water. So you'll find them, I think the water there is actually a GH of around 8 or so, but they're adaptable anywhere from pH around 6 to a pH around 8. They'll adapt to basically anything, soft water or hard water. But they do prefer things a little bit on the harder side. I know some people who keep salt in their water with Aphyosemium species, and that's pretty acceptable too, especially if you have soft water. We do have a pair. I don't know what I did with them. So I do have a pair, a male and female, available on the raffle table here with some, this is Taiwan moss inside just for cover. The male is on the smaller side. The female is just about ready to breed right now. So whoever wants him, good luck.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, questions. Sorry.
10-gallon tank appropriate or?
Yes, 10-gallon tank would be perfectly appropriate for a pair of these or a trio of these. Two females and a male, and more depending on if you have a lot of cover in the tank. You could probably do 2 or 3 pairs maybe in a 10-gallon if you've got a lot of plants in there.
Are they jumpers like the rest of them?
They are jumpers. Watch out for those. Achilles are notorious for jumping. These, I actually keep my main tank where these are without a lid, but I put a lid on for 24 hours after I do a water change, because doing a water change will always stimulate their jumping, every time. Anybody else, any other? Yeah.
You were catching in ponds or?
I've not. I've never actually seen a Achille in the wild. I'm sure I've got a friend here who might be able to hook me up. Anybody else? No. All right, cool.